truth. It has to be based on facts. It has to be logical in some sense. I know we're human beings and we all have emotions, but in some sense, it has to be divorced from emotions, because when you proceed forward, you got to kind of suck up your emotions and start operating on logic and basic survival. And what I mean by that is, if I was on a desert island with any one of these people, I know for a fact that no matter what we each believe, and there are more than this, I just wanted to show you these people as examples because I was watching a couple of their videos and kind of a bell goes off in my mind. And I'm like, you know what? I think a lot of people would benefit if we talked about this and some specifics here. But if we were all on a desert island, and we had to get off that island because of inhospitable conditions, wild animals, whatever. I know for a fact that no matter what we each believed, we would have to unite and work together to get off the island. Well, I know for a fact that we are on an island right now. The island is controlled by the Federal Reserve, the central banking cartel, the corporate elite. We know who they are. We've talked about them. We've talked about what their characteristics are. We've talked about who their puppets are that are dangling from their strings, and they are political puppets, be they congressmen or senators, be they working out of Washington's District of Criminals or from the Oval Office at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. These political puppets are dangling from bankers' strings. And I think for the most part, actually for all DNC operatives, all these propagandists for the DNC, for the RNC, for Team MAGA, are all cultists operating within a cult, while they ironically call the other team a cult. And what's interesting about calling yourself or calling somebody else a cult is that a lot of times when people say that another person is in a cult, how they define it, they usually unwittingly are including themselves in that category without saying that they are in a cult. Because what cult member do you know says, oh yeah, I'm a cult member, I'm in a cult? No cult member thinks that they're in a cult. And that's the deceptive nature of being in a cult, is no cult member thinks they're a part of it. So when you ask the question, can you define cult? A lot of people have their version, they have their understanding, they have their definition of that word, and there's a lot of subjectivity in it. But I think that what we could do is glean some characteristics on what a cult is. For example, when you talk about the Mormons or the Jehovah's Witness, well, if you're a Mormon watching this, you don't believe you're in a cult, but you do believe that if somebody's in the Roman Catholic Church, that they're in a cult. If you're a Roman Catholic, you believe that Buddhists are part of a cult. If you're a Presbyterian, if you're a Protestant, you believe that Catholics are in a cult. Jehovah's Witnesses believe that everybody's in a cult. So isn't it interesting that people who are part of a cult don't have a problem pointing a finger at you if you're in a different religious organization or religious structure or religious church, that you're a cult member, but the person pointing the finger is not. So my definition of a cult is kind of like it's a social group, and it's centered around usually ideological ideas based almost entirely on belief and separated from logic. So when I talk to you about, I believe people in the DNC are in a cult, or the RNC are in a cult, or the DNC believes the RNC are in a cult, or some factions of the RNC believe MAGA is in a cult, I view cult as, I think there's a way that we can distill what the meaning of cult is. And if you've got ideas on what you think a cult is, I think there are some key characteristics of that. And one of them is that this ideological structure that they built the entire church or political organization around is constructed entirely on beliefs that have nothing to do with logic. And there's a lot of hypocrisy involved in being that kind of organization. Isolation is a factor, and it seems like it's a constant theme in a cult. And then there's, like, I don't know, authoritarian leadership. There's usually a charismatic or authoritarian leader or leaders who demand either absolute or partial obedience or loyalty from followers. And I think that would fall under, for sure, the cult of personality. And then there's exploitation and control. And you see that in religious cults, and you see that in political cults, because frequently they exploit their members financially. How many times Are you on a Trump mailing list? Are you on a Kamala Harris mailing list? Do you know how many times they send out mailers asking for money and, laying down some kind of exploitative phraseology that makes you feel like, oh my God, Donald Trump is an existential threat to the freedoms of America. I've got to give boatloads of money to the Kamala Harris campaign. And then they come out. I saw Trump's thing the other day. Only give to my campaign if you can afford. If you can't afford it, that's a control measure. That's what a nice guy. He's saying, hey, if I can't afford it, don't give. Hey, here, I'll just give him $5. I can afford $5. So they emotionally, financially, or physically exploit you. Another characteristic I've seen is that there's this unquestioning commitment. Members of a cult are often expected, in my opinion, to show unwavering commitment to the group or its leader, often to the detriment of their own physical or mental well-being. And I see that with like politics. You cannot escape being a part of politics without being negatively psychologically affected, in my opinion. And if you speak up and if you fear speaking up and fear that if you do speak up, you might be ostracized from this group or looked down upon for simply challenging beliefs that don't line up with logic, there's a good chance that you're in a cult. So in no way am I condemning these people or thinking that I'm better than they are, but I do have questions. And one of those questions is, why all the hypocrisy? Why all of the doublespeak? Why all the double standards? So we're going to watch some of this. This first guy right here is from a channel called Tennessee Brando. He's wildly popular, maybe not as popular as some, but he's definitely gaining a lot of traction. This guy's gained about 150,000 subscribers in the last month and a half, and he probably is averaging 500 to 750,000 views a day. A lot of people listening to him. When you look at the like to dislike ratio, like you have in this video right here, you have 5.3 thousand likes to only 12 dislikes. So people generally like what he's saying. The audience that he's dealing with is heavily immersed in the Democratic, the DNC, the notion that, hey, we got to beat Donald Trump at all costs. And he is what I would consider like Brian Tyler Cohen, Midas Touch. We're going to look at Luke Beasley, some Adam Mockler. These are on the younger sides of this DNC propaganda campaign. But he is what I would consider a propagandist, a hypocritical propagandist. Listen to this irony right here, and listen to the emotion that these people are swept away with as they watch and engross themselves in and immerse themselves in the Democratic National Convention that's going on in Chicago right now, and they get swept away with emotion. Watch this.
So yesterday we kicked off the Democratic National Convention, and I have never been more excited to vote than I am right now. It was so good to see our side unified. It was so good to see the energy in the room. And folks, there's one thing I know for sure. We are on the right side of history.
I have never been so excited to vote, and we are on the right side of history. Now, here's my supposition right here. Voting is a psychological operation. Your mind is telling your body that on November 5th or before then with mail-in ballots that you have to go to the voting box, the voting booth, and you have to pull that lever, if you have to push that button for that psychological, that psychopathic political parasite that is a liar and has no intention on fulfilling the promises that they shovel your way during the BS-DNC or the BS-RNC, depending on if you're team red or team blue. So voting is a psychological operation, in my opinion, in order to get people to participate in a humiliation ritual. And what is the humiliation? You are literally going to demoralize and demean yourself into voting for somebody that you know is one of the worst human beings on the entire planet, that you know is going to break their promises, that you know is going to ring up the national debt, devalue the dollar, and do all sorts of things with your money, take more money from you, oversee the initiation of more laws which make you less free. How do we know that Kamala will do this? How do we know that Donald Trump will do this? Because Obama before him did it. Because Joe Biden before him did it, because Clinton before him did it, because Reagan before him did it. There's no president that doesn't increase the national debt. There's no president that doesn't stay in the back pocket of the central banking cartel. There's no president that doesn't feed the war machine and the defense contractors. They all do it, and they do it on your dime. And it's all predicated on force, violence, theft, and coercion. Specifically, extortion, because it's done by the barrel of a government gun. I don't care if it's DNC. I don't care if it's RNC. I don't care if it's Republican. I don't care if it's Democrat. I don't care if they said they leaned more libertarian. They all do it 100% of the time without fail. That's why voting is a psychological operation, and it is a demoralization exercise, campaign, and ritual. It's almost like it's religious. It truly is, because the only reason you went to go vote is because you have a construct of belief, and you truly believe, or you wouldn't do it, you truly believe that this psychopathic parasite, because that's what all congressmen and senators and governors and presidents are, is they're living off of the product of your time and your labor. They didn't earn the money that they're paying themselves. You did, though. You're the producer. You're the one who supplies the actual services that benefit mankind. All they are is parasitic leeches. They're like a tick out in the wilderness. They get into your waistband and they start sucking your blood. That's all they do. That's all they can do. That's where they get their power. That's where they get their finances. That's how they can send boatloads of money to Ukraine and Israel and Saudi Arabia. That's how they broker deals. That's why it costs $186,000, $210,000 an hour to fly Air Force One and take the president to God knows where, doing who knows what. Kamala will do it, and Donald Trump will do it. But these people want you to believe that it's different this time. We have an existential threat. We got to beat Donald Trump. And so the mind of the voter is saying, okay, I buy into this. I believe this. There's no logic for it. There's no reasoning. This isn't based on intelligence. It's all based on feeling. It's all based on emotions, and it's all based on the promises, the empty promises of what we already know is a political parasite, a psychopathic political parasite who wants the ring of power, who wants to control you. Kamala Harris wants to control you. She wants to be the leader of the free world. And those people who go to the voting booths, those who demand leaders for themselves, are unfit to choose them for others. That's how I see this guy. That's how I see Luke Beasley and Adam Mockler and Midas Touch and Hassan Piker and the Young Turks and Fox News and the Counterfeit News Network.
I know that. I'm convinced of that. We will go down on the right side of history when this thing is finally written.
What the hell does that even mean? What the hell does that mean? Who's going to write it? Who writes the history books? The victor. So does the victor ever paint himself as a bad guy? No, the victor always paints himself as a good guy, whether he was a bad guy or not. And isn't it interesting that every person who conquered any land was always the good guy? Isn't that crazy? Always the good guy.
Both sides are not the same. One side is just WWE theater with a bunch of fear and propaganda. And
both sides are exactly the same. That's a lie, guys. That's a lie. Both sides are exactly the same. Both sides are going to trash your dollar. Take $1 out of your pocket. Do I have $1 here? I used to have $1 here. You know what? I got real money here. I have real money. You want to see real money? Here's fake money. That's fake money. That's a $100 bill. Guess what? 80% of American $100 bills are abroad. They're not here in America. But you want to see sound money? I don't know if this is going to show up with my green screen. Oh yeah, you can see it. You can see through it a little bit. This right here is a goldback. You know what this is right here? This is 1 Nevada goldback, and it's equal to 1/1000th of a troy ounce of gold. You know why? Because this is actually gold. This is hammered out, flattened out, laminated gold. This is real gold from the ground, made into a bill, a $1 bill. It's called a goldback. People are constantly going, Brian, you're always bitching about the problem, but you never come up with the solution. Guess what? You know what the solution to unsound, dishonest money is? Sound, honest money that actually took work and planning and intelligence to get out of the ground and form this right here. That's a goldback. I wasn't planning on actually even showing this, but take $1 out of your pocket right here. This right here is a representation of the product of your time and laboring energies. So you go out and work, you go away from your family, and you, by the sweat of your brow, you earn a living so that you can keep the lights on, so you can keep a roof over your family's head, so you can keep food in their stomachs and clothes on their back. And when you save this, you're penalized through inflation. Inflation is a hidden tax. So as this thing sits in your under your mattress, or in a bank, or in a vault, or a safe or something, it's losing value. So they're able to extract the value of this without even entering your house. And so they extract the value of your time and labor through inflation. And the way they create inflation is by diluting the M2 money supply. And who does that? The central banks, in concert with the Treasury Department. And they are in control of the president. The president doesn't control the Federal Reserve. The president of the United States, they call him the leader of the free world. But guess what Alan Greenspan said when he was asked, and I'll say, I don't care if you've heard this before. I will say this every day until I'm blue in my face. Alan Greenspan said, he was asked the question, what should the relationship be between a Federal Reserve and a president of the United States? Basically, the bottom line is, he said, it doesn't matter what the relationship is. We are a private company, a private corporation, as long as the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch don't step across the line and try to tell us what to do. Everything's copacetic. Get them in the back seat. We're in the driver's seat. We always have been, and we always will since 1913. And give me control over our nation's money, and I care not who makes its laws. I don't care who the president or the governors or the congressmen or the senators are. We are in control. And until I don't hear anybody, I didn't hear Hulk Hogan at the RNC talk about how we need an honest money supply, an honest fiat, an honest currency system based on real freaking assets like gold or silver or palladium or something. Why didn't you hear Kid Rock or Hulk Hogan talk about that? All they talked about was my hero, Donald Trump. And I'll tell you something, brother, you need to vote for Donald Trump because we can't have the commie in the White House. Such BS. Not even talking about the real issue. If you're not talking about this, you are not talking about the real issue. And they're not talking about the real issue at the DNC. You didn't hear it from AOC. You didn't hear it from Hillary Clinton. At the DNC, you didn't hear it from Hulk Hogan or Donald Trump or Donald Trump Jr. or Laura Trump. You didn't hear it from anybody at the RNC or the DNC. Why? Because they are working together in concert against you. So when they devalue this, they're devaluing you as a person. And that's another reason why voting is a demoralization, humiliation ritual, because you're actually going to vote for the person who's going to tap into and devalue your time and labor. That's how nonsensical this whole thing is. So when he says this right here,
history when this thing is finally written. Both sides are not the same. One side is just WWE theater with a bunch of fear and propaganda, and our side is a message of unity and hope and ideas and solutions on how to move this country forward.
That right there is why I named this channel The Disturbing Illusion. It is disturbing that a grown man would actually go so far as to suggest that it's political theater at the RNC, the Republican National Convention, and within the ranks of Team MAGA, but it is absolutely not political theater when we're talking about the serious folks over at the DNC. Guys, do me a favor, hit the like button right now and share this video with everybody you know. I don't know anybody who's talking about this like I am, and that's not putting me on a pedestal or anything. If you know somebody who's saying these kinds of things on this platform, drop them in the comment section, and I'd like to get in touch with them, because I would like to unite with this guy right here, but there are some fictions, there are some, what do you call them, superstitions that he's going to have to shed in order to do that. It's kind of like if we were all on that island that I talked about at the beginning of this video right here. If we were all on this, we're stranded on the desert, this desert island, this inhospitable. Maybe there's a volcano and the lava is about to push us off. Maybe there are wild animals that are constantly threatening to rip us apart, and we got to turn these sticks into swords somehow, and we got to go on a rotation where this group sleeps while the other group remains vigilant to keep the lions or the bears off of us. We're in this inhospitable situation. It'd be like being with those people who are actually inviting the bears into the camp. You can't reason with those kind of people. It's like, what are you, a psychopath? We're catching fish, and then you're taking fish guts and you're sprinkling them all over the camp so the bears will come. You're working completely against our interest, against our survival. That's how I see these guys in the realm of politics. I don't know if it's witting or unwitting. I can't think for a second that these people are stupid. I don't think they're stupid. And in the case of the Brian Tyler Cohens, who this guy, if you look at, I wonder if we can do this. I wonder if you can see this. Let's go to, I want to show you how popular these people are. This is, let's go to Brian Tyler Cohen. I don't even know if that's going to come up because that's not how you spell his name. Here we go. This guy's got 3.1 million subscribers, and he's getting daily average. He is generating 5.1 million views every day. That's more views than he gets that in 24 hours. That's more views than I'll get in the entire year on this channel, going at the rate that I'm going on. Unfreaking believable. How about Midas Touch? Check this out. So he's averaging 154 million views in 30 days. And the reason I say this is because that is a big audience. Now, a lot of people go, well, those are probably just bots. That's it's still a massive audience. How about Midas Touch? Look how popular these people are. Midas Touch, a lot of people, you probably haven't even heard of Midas Touch. They have almost 3 million subscribers, and look what they're averaging. They're averaging 11.1 million views a day, or 335 million. That's almost 500 million views every 30 days. And all they are putting out is constant, incessant DNC propaganda, bow down to the Federal Reserve nonsense. And when I say bow down to the Federal Reserve, I mean, they're not even mentioning the Federal Reserve. They're not even going after our true enemy. That's like trying to stab at guppies as you're being attacked by a shark. That's how popular these people are. And that's how important channels like this are, because not very many people have the capacity to expose. You know why? Because the people who would expose this guy right here, and rightly so, are speaking from the platform of their own cult, telling you to believe in their own cultish ideologies. And guess what? The RNC, as they pull out all the stops, they are spending tens of millions, hundreds of millions, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to get you to go to the voting booth. Guess what the DNC is doing? They're spending hundreds and hundreds of million dollars to get you to go to the voting booth. Why is it? Have you asked yourself, why is it so important for the RNC and the DNC that I go and go push that button and pull that lever for Team MAGA or Team Democrat? Why is it so important for the powers that shouldn't be to get me out of my easy chair and to go out and to vote? Because it's imperative that they demoralize and dehumanize you. And it's imperative they get your consent before they go on with the criminal activity they're about to do in the next 4 years in your name. Because they can say, well, we did it in your name. You voted for us. No, I didn't vote for you. I voted for Trump. But you went out there and you demoralized yourself, which means you're actually buying into the political paradigm and the illusion that you bought into the disturbing illusion. Why is the illusion so disturbing? Is because you're actually asking a parasite, a psychopath, to steal from other Americans on your behalf, to beef up the military industrial complex on your behalf with your consent, to make laws that put people in prison like Ross Ulbricht or Julian Assange or Bradley Manning or Chelsea Manning. People who literally risked their lives at one point in their life and said, you know what, the military industrial complex is getting so out of hand. I've got to reveal these military secrets, these national security secrets to Americans so they can know how evil and corrupt the system that they're supporting is. It's outrageous. I can't even, sometimes when I'm sitting here doing a video or putting a video together and doing editing, I'm like, I can't believe we're living in this world. I just can't even believe it.
And that's exactly what we're going to do come November. Now, one thing I'm not going to do in this video is I'm not going to focus in on the reactions of MAGA, because those are irrelevant. Them kicking and screaming right now is absolutely irrelevant, because they're irrelevant. Their ideas are irrelevant. And so is Donald Trump. They're all irrelevant. But I know one thing they're upset about is that last night at the Democratic National Convention, we brought receipts. And what people need to understand is when you're running against
now when the average person who is thinking logically, who's thinking intelligibly, and is not intertwined with superstition, when they're talking about bringing the receipts, they're talking about proof of some hypocrisy, a truth that counters some lie. What they're talking about is dogging the Republicans.
someone like Donald Trump, you have to bring the receipts. You have to remind people of exactly who that he is and who he was and what he's done. You have to bring those receipts and you have to show them to the American people. This isn't about us further trying to sow division like some of them may be over there kicking and screaming and saying.
It is absolutely about sowing division. Politics is inherently divisive. It's us versus them. It's team red versus team blue. That's all the DNC is talking about, is how bad Donald Trump and team MAGA are. That's all the Republicans at the Republican National Convention was talking about, is how bad Kamala and her followers are. That's what politics is. Politics is the clever and deceptive art of using euphemisms, lies, emotionalism, and fear-mongering in order to dupe average people into accepting and even demanding the chains of their own enslavement. And they do it through division. It's distract, deceive, divide, dehumanize, demoralize, and conquer. That's what politics does. It divides American against American. And I hate it. I hate it. And you got to call this out. And I feel like, I'm on an island a lot because I'm calling out Republicans and Democrats. When I call out the Democrats, oh man, I get pats on the back from the Republicans. And I'm always quick to say, hey, you guys are in the exact same boat, drilling holes in the bottom, just like the DNC are.
This is about us bringing the receipts and giving everyone a reality check that this is what we're up against in November. So when the DNC ran this ad, I was jumping up and down.
Now, when he says jumping up and down, he probably literally jumped up and down. You're going to see how swayed by emotion these people are just from these propaganda clips from the Kamala Harris campaign. Same thing with MAGA. I mean, we can go, I'll try to pull up the Donald Trump's Twitter page, Real Donald Trump, and I'll show you some of the stuff that the MAGA crowd is responding emotionally to. What's interesting is Team MAGA will look at Team DNC and go, God, you're so swayed by emotion. Look at you guys. And the same thing applies to them. Politics literally turns you into a jelly-filled hypocrite.
In the criminal justice system, the people are represented by two separate yet equally important groups: the police, who investigate crime, and the district attorneys who prosecute the offenders. This is the story of Donald Trump. His entire life, Trump has believed he's above the law.
That's true. That's true. His entire life, he has believed that he's above the law. But it's also true of Biden. It's also true of every psychopathic political pundit or parasite who believes that they can make a law that you have to submit to, and if you don't submit to it, you get punished. They believe they're above their own laws. Even cops believe they're above their own laws because they'll speed down the road. If you're going 7 miles an hour over the speed limit, you're getting a ticket. If they go 25 miles an hour over the speed limit, their fellow cop looks the other way. As soon as they see that badge. Now, there are exceptions, of course, to that, but generally speaking, a cop will let another cop slide because why? There's that thin blue line of silence. They have qualified immunity. You don't. Politics exactly the same way. This thing that they just pinned at the feet of Donald Trump, it doesn't just apply to Donald Trump. They're right what they say about Donald Trump, but it also applies to them. They're such hypocrites.
No one would ever dare hold him accountable. He lies. He rips off workers. He sexually abuses women.
Hey, when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
He cheats in business. He cheated on his wife with a porn star and paid her off so the American people wouldn't find out during an election. But in the criminal justice system, ordinary Americans have had the courage to find him accountable time and time again.
Guilty.
Guilty.
Guilty. Donald Trump guilty on all 34 felony counts.
For the first time in history.
They got that music. They play those chords. They get the emotions going. Everybody's all into this. Here's a Donald Trump thing right here just to even this out.
Yeah, I am radical. You need to get
By the way, this is coming from @Real Donald Trump on Twitter.
radical about what we are doing and take it seriously.
As President of the United States, I am prepared
to get rid of the filibuster to pass a Green New Deal. There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. We have to have a buyback program, and I support a mandatory buyback program.
I believe it will totally eliminate private insurance.
Let's eliminate all of that.
But would you support changing the dietary guidelines?
Yes.
The food pyramid. What people
Yes.
to reduce red meat specifically.
Yes, I would.
Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants.
Where do you stand on defund the police?
This whole movement is about rightly saying we need to take a look at these budgets.
Harris is
They were pretty disingenuous about that. She did not say defund the police right there. They could have used a better clip for that. So let's get back to this guy. I'm going to just fast forward through this little propaganda piece right here that's getting this guy all emotional about and helping him stand to his feet and cheer. And he's more excited now than ever to get out there and vote.
So there was the receipts. That's exactly who Donald Trump is.
That wasn't receipts. That was propaganda.
We just reminded everybody of what he was, and we
You basically, when you're reminding everybody of what Donald Trump is, you're also, if the Kamala crowd was going to be honest, and if they were honest, they wouldn't be the Kamala crowd. And if the Trump crowd was going to be honest, and if they were honest, they wouldn't be the Trump crowd. But they got to admit that what we just said about their leader also applies to our leader.
reminded everybody that we have a prosecutor and they have a felon. So if they're upset with that,
they're both felons. Just one was convicted and the other one wasn't yet. You can commit a felony. You can do something bad. You can commit a crime and actually be a criminal and yet not be charged for your criminality yet. So just because Kamala wasn't caught, well, she has been caught, but nobody's going to do anything about it because, hey, you look the other way when it's a politician, man.
you know, you should be more upset that you let a grifter from New York dupe you into hijacking a party and completely destroying it from the inside out.
But it's better if another grifter writes the 1994 crime bill and incarcerates a whole bunch of minorities while they're saying they're championing the cause of the minority, right? That's better.
And if you're a reasonable Republican, you should really be upset that your party sold itself out to a cult.
I'm sorry, man. This really is. I mean, it's funny and it's not. It's funny and it's sad. You sold out to a cult. So you're saying if MAGA wasn't a part of it, you would be for the RNC? You would be for the Republicans? The Republicans would actually be better? Or would you find something else to gripe about that is immersed in soaking wet in hypocrisy?
If Donald Trump wasn't the kind of person that we showed you in that video, I mean, you couldn't make that video. If he was an honorable person who did the right thing and stood up for what was right, well, he probably would have been reelected and we wouldn't be having this conversation to start with. The reason we're having this conversation is because Donald Trump is exactly who he is. But I'm loving seeing more and more people bring the receipts. And here they bring Project 2025 right out on the stage. And I was so glad to see this. Please bring it out. Please read from it because it's not some left-wing boogeyman. Here's the receipts. Check this out. This is great.
Yeah, look at my last video. This is the senator from Michigan, McMorrow. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward this. He plays some of Crockett right here. You can see the crowd just totally getting into this, man. You can see the DNC crowd. They love this stuff. This is WWE to them.
Crockett spoke, and I'm so glad that she brought this reality check and brought this receipt.
America, looking at the two choices before you, who would you hire? Donald Trump or Kamala Harris?
And guess what that's called? That's called a false dichotomy. That's called a false choice. You only got two choices, Donald Trump or Kamala Harris. What if I choose not to participate in your evil demoralization ritual? How about that? That's another thing about the DNC and the RNC, the Republican Party and the Democrat Party, the two-party system, which is really the uniparty system, is they try to get you to say, hey, all we got on the menu is poop soup and turd sandwich, and you're going to have to pick one. And then people are like, all right, poop soup sounds less gross than a turd. I don't want to bite into a turd, okay?
has a resume. Donald Trump has a rap sheet.
Oh, Tennessee Brando's going to love that one.
She presides over the Senate while he keeps our national secrets next to his thinking chair. Y'all know what I said that other time. In real Lago.
Kamala Harris has a resume. Trump has a rap sheet. Somebody put that on a shirt, okay?
Look at that. He loves this. He loves it. Oh my God, he's so into it. It's like Hulk Hogan's coming off the top rope. He's going to get the Ultimate Warrior this time. Warriors, I call upon your power.
That is the reality that MAGA is forced to live with, and I love it. It couldn't have happened to better people to be stuck with that reality. And another hard reality that we have to face up to is Donald Trump is back asking for a rematch. You know, he wants a second shot.
All right, enough of this guy. Let's go to this next guy right here. I want to show you this. This is a guy named Luke Beasley. He's a young kid who's got 764,000 subscribers. He's killing it too on Social Blade. Let's see. Luke Beasley. Let's see what he's up to. These guys are wildly popular. It's almost like you got to sell your soul or something. 42 million views in the last. He's on track to have his biggest month. 42 million views in the last 30 days. These guys just in Google ad revenue are killing it. Killing it. They have become millionaires. So listen to what he says. Watch how emotional he gets when considering the propaganda of the DNC.
Violent overthrow. No, there was nothing violent about it. And I actually do want to play for you while we're on this subject a little bit from Biden's speech last night.
Oh,
God.
God.
The song is called American Anthem.
Oh, God.
There's one verse that stands out, and I can't sing worth a damn, so I'm not going to try. I'll just quote it. The work and prayers of centuries have brought us to this day. What shall our legacy be? What will our children say? Let me know in my heart when my days are through.
I got to fast forward this.
Check this out. I'm going to show you how I afforded this car.
I hate this. Let's see. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, and I'm sure you saw this, but when Biden came out on stage, he got a 4.5-minute standing ovation.
Who the frick cares? You know how long the standing ovations were for Hitler in huge coliseums? Just lining up for days just so they could get a glimpse of the funny mustache dude. Who cares? And you know what? You know what's interesting about history? It's almost like the most corrupt people get the longest applause. It literally means nothing. In the realm of character and morality and doing the right thing and being the right person, that applause means nothing. But it truly, truly impresses people like this.
Which was emotional. He teared up and I teared up.
Okay. How psychologically unstable do you have to be to tear up for 4 minutes of applause and ovation for a lifelong corrupt politician? Where do you have to be psychologically for that to affect you on an emotional level? Not only somebody that you don't know, but somebody who has been put into that place through a C-election, not election process that works completely for the bankers. You can see that in the actions that devalue the value of the time and laboring energies of everybody you love and hold dear in your life. And you're going to choke up when a psychopathic puppet gets all this applause for 50 years of public service or whatever they're billing it as. There's a serious emotional instability going on residing in the hearts of these propagandists.
I was already teared up because I had been coughing at that point for quite some time. So every last bit of oxygen had been coughed out of my lungs. So I teary-eyed because of that. But then it got added more to that because of the emotions of this being a sort of conclusion of his presidency type speech. And
not only are people not laughing about this, guys, here's how serious this is. This was released 4 hours ago, and this is just a kid talking in a microphone about a political parasite that he's getting choked up about with the standing ovation. It's got 300,000 views in 4 hours. Look at this. Let me just, can I blow this up? Expand this? 297,289 views. America is sick of Trump, sick of MAGA, sick of the chaos he brings. The irony of a man who says he wants to stop crime but was unable to stop himself from committing crime. Trump is rotten to the core. And just people patting this kid on the back going, I know what you mean. Biden is such a great guy. This is just so, it's just so sad to see him go out like that. Look how much he cared about America. He cared enough to step down and step out of the way and hand the reins to Kamala. We're in good hands with Kamala. We can't wait for Kamala to rule us. Make all the rules that you want, Kamala. We're on Team Kamala. When we fight, we win.
Also representing a moment where he, as the guy who was at the top of the food chain, decided to put the movement's goals above his own. To put the country above.
He actually said, I didn't know he was going to say that, guys. He put his goals on hold for the love of the country. Gosh darn it. Can't you see how great and self-sacrificial Joe Biden is? And Jill and the whole Biden family, they just love us. They love America.
Of his own. And I think it affirms that we're a part of the right movement, because on one end,
he's saying, in essence, I haven't seen this far into this video. He's saying, in essence, what Tennessee Brando said. Tennessee Brando says, when history is written, we'll be on the right side of history. And this guy's saying, we're in the right movement. Oh my God, this is so great.
Could never imagine the top dog on the other side, Trump, doing such a thing ever. But Biden chose to do that, and I think that's a part of why there was just so much love being expressed in the venue for him.
So, there's no truth in a DNC meeting. There's no truth in an RNC meeting. It's all couched in lies. The springboard of it is absolute deception. It's perversion. It's theft. It's corruption.
So many cheers, all the signs, because it was that show of dedication to the country above himself.
Oh man, I just can't even watch this anymore. Now we're going to go to this kid is Adam Mockler. This chick right here is somebody named JoJo. If you're not on Twitter, you don't know who she is. She's completely immersed in Team Blue. But I wanted to show you this right here. I haven't seen all of what they say, so let's take a look at it.
I'm JoJo from Jersey.
Yeah, this truly is. Chris Wright is right. This is cult-like behavior.
I see you on my Twitter feed all the time. When I saw your face, I just pictured it like overlaid with a Twitter profile picture, you know?
It's crazy.
So let me ask you, who are you most excited to see speak?
Oh my gosh. Well, right now, sentimentally, Joe Biden, because I love him so much, and this is very emotional.
I love Joe Biden so much. Lady, you don't know Joe Biden. Even if Joe Biden was your family member, like your grandfather, you don't know Joe Biden, and he ain't your family member. You've probably never been to the White House. And even if you had, you've seen a glimpse of Joe Biden. You don't know who he is. You don't know what kind of corrupt things he's really up to. This is so ridiculous.
Emotional for me to say kind of like goodbye, but also thank you. Thank you, Joe. Like, I'm very emotional about that, but I'm so excited to see Jasmine Crockett speak today. I'm excited to see Tim Walz speak. I'm excited to see Hillary Clinton speak, and I'm so excited.
Look at this kid's face. They're so excited. This is like Christmas, and that's what voting is. That's what these things are all about. It's like Christmas for adults. Voting is Santa Claus for adults. It's the Easter Bunny for adults.
Kamala on Thursday. I'm so excited.
Do you have napkins ready for Biden's speech tonight? It's gonna be sad.
All the Kleenex. See, I ugly cry all the time. I saw them in Maryland the other day, and I just cry when I see him now.
This chick is the most vitriolic chick that I've seen on Twitter. She says the most horrendous things to people.
But I need all the Kleenex. I'm already emotional about it.
So let's dig in. What do you think is at stake this election cycle?
Oh, it's just democracy, our right to bodily autonomy.
It's the same thing that's at stake every election cycle: your humanity and your morality and your character. You've literally demeaned yourself. Brian, what's the answer? Stop demeaning yourself. Stop demoralizing yourself. Stop submitting. Stop consenting to the puppet masters. Stop. And then this whole thing goes away. Do you realize if 35% of us just said, screw what? Make whatever laws you want to, you illegitimate piles of crap. We're standing on morality. We're standing on our manhood.
Public education, let's see, the indoctrination, religious indoctrination of our children in public schools, if public schools even exist anymore.
Yeah, that's the shield JoJo. Raiden, this is JoJo. I've never seen her talk. I've only seen her type.
What else?
Project 2025.
Project 2025, the deregulation of everything, the DOJ being turned into his personal, heavies, the FBI being essentially dismantled and turned into his heavies.
Yeah, we don't want to dismantle the FBI. We don't want to dismantle the ATF. We want to preserve the Department of Justice. They're always working for us, Fast and Furious, Ruby Ridge, Waco. Brian Malinowski just recently with the FBI and the ATF. Yeah, they'll just go to your house, break down your door, kill your dog, and shoot you. But we need to keep them intact because, it's not a domestic terror cell or anything. We need the FBI. Way to go, JoJo.
Retribution with his, adversaries. People like me worry a little bit, like, oh, I don't know what could happen to me. But those are just a few of the things that are.
Just like 7 or 8.
But there's so much more that we're voting for.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I really feel like we can lean into voting for.
Hope.
Right, hope and joy, but also
we're voting for hope. Oh, the enigmatic, almost religious, maybe superstitious hope. And that's one of the characteristics of a cult member, is they're espousing ideologies that 100% have to do with belief and 0% have to do with logic and morality. As a matter of fact, most of the time, almost all the time, dare I say 100% of the time, when you're talking about something within the realm of politics, it goes hand in hand with stealing from Americans, extorting Americans, threatening Americans, jailing Americans, making Americans less free with more laws. The more laws you have, the less freedom you have.
kitchen table issues, like the expanded child tax credit, like making housing more affordable, like making sure that all diabetic people, regardless of their
Yeah, presidents are going to make housing more affordable as they trash your dollar.
age or whether they're on Medicare, can get $35 insulin. Like all of those things are things we can vote for, and that is exciting.
Holy crud. There was this little kid. Look at this little kid right here. Isn't this sad right here? Watch this.
There's so many, right?
Yeah.
Well said. Yeah, thanks for reading that out. That's supposed to be covered. Here, take my card. Just so you want to. I live in Chicago, so incredibly well said. And what issues are most important to you personally? There's so many, right?
Yeah. I'll start with President Biden's accomplishments are just so impressive, and we have to keep that going. And I know the exact person who's going to keep that going. That's Kamala Harris. Issues that are most important to me, first of all, not electing a felon to the White House.
That should be obvious, right?
That should be obvious, but unfortunately it's not, based off the interviews I've seen with you. So those are the most issues important to me, and I appreciate you so much for asking that.
Dude, yeah, I appreciate you for talking to us. It's great.
What a freaking smart kid. I mean, this kid's intelligent, this kid is bright, and this kid is unfortunately deceived by the left versus right paradigm lie. He, at an early age, somebody chose to immerse him, and now he's chosen to take the path of the disturbing illusion. This sucks. This sucks.
So, what do you think about the momentum shift from President Biden to President Harris? And would you say that you're more excited to have a younger candidate who can appeal to more demographics?
So I was excited to have President Biden. I mean, age doesn't matter to me as long as we have a candidate who doesn't want to make the voting age higher, but expand voting rights to 18-year-olds and 20-year-olds and 19-year-olds. And so I think I was excited about President Biden, really excited about President Biden. And now that we have a younger candidate, it just expands our demographic. But either way, I was extremely excited to have an effective leader. But I'm extremely excited to have the 59-year-old in the White House.
Wow, this kid is frickin' sharp. This kid is articulate. Unbelievable.
Mind blown by how great you are right now. And I want to ask you, do you have anything to promote on camera? Do you have like social media? Your Twitter? What's your Twitter?
Yeah, my Twitter is Noah Was Taken, Knowa. I'm so excited to be here with Adam. I'm super excited.
Look at this
DNC
kid.
Day One.
He's like an adult in a little kid body. He's super impressive.
Hell yeah. And then I also want to ask you, how have you felt? Let me see how I can word this. When it comes to Project 2025, what do you think is truly at stake for people that are young like us and long term, heading down the long path?
Completely ending the infrastructure bill that would be extremely beneficial to our generation. What else? Defunding public schools, defunding, and for certain people, Head Start program. That's super important. And it's so important to get your vote out to stop Project 2025, especially if you're 18 to 24.
Yep. And what do you say to people our age who are disillusioned with our institutions? You know how there's a lot of people who think that Trump and Kamala, are effectively the same. How do you rebut that?
That is so untrue. You can just look at their record. Look at their record and see it was not true. Who was responsible for Central Park 5? We know. Who was responsible for holding predators like Trump accountable in California and San Francisco? We know who that is. That's Kamala.
Who is responsible for keeping over 1,500 black men in prison, even when she found out that they were innocent? We know.
We need to compare band for band who exactly has.
Yeah, he's a diamond in the rough. No kid acts like this. He's definitely been groomed, or he's just a self-starter like Vivek Ramaswamy. I don't know if anybody's ever seen the commencement speech at his graduation. I think it was in 2001 or 2003. The kid is talking like he talks better than any president of the United States you have ever seen.
The right record, and that's Kamala.
Hi, I'm
Being well-spoken doesn't equal intelligence. There is a measure of intelligence in being correlated with being well-spoken. Generally, people who are well-spoken are intelligent. Now, does that mean the person that you can be highly intelligent and extremely immoral? Like I would put Vivek Ramaswamy, who from a very early age became a billionaire because of some of his investments in the medical field. He's highly articulate, highly intelligent, but extremely immoral. This guy has no moral backbone. And I don't know if he ever had a moral compass, because this guy completely sells out and prostrates himself at the altar of Donald Trump. So I would say that there is a correlation there. But, because generally slow, stupid people they don't have a grasp of the English language like that, and sentence structure and expression and inflection and all that kind of stuff. But on the other hand, you can have somebody who's purportedly a genius and can't talk like worth anything. Like Elon Musk is a horrible communicator and a bad stutterer. But then he might not be that intelligent. He could just be a rich guy because he's got all the government subsidies. Anyway, okay, guys. I'm gonna end this 53 minutes. I want to stay under 55 minutes tonight, and I only got a minute and 15 seconds left. But don't forget, hit the bell notification icon, subscribe to this channel. If you like this video, give it a like, because it really helps. How many likes we got right now? 0? Wow, it says 0 on my screen. Let me just refresh. I got Tim Walls on the screen right here. 98 likes, 135 people in here. Hit the like button, subscribe, and share this video. I really appreciate you guys being here. You help out a lot. I don't know what to say. The price of freedom is now and will always be eternal vigilance, and indifference to this notion is the means by which the people have and will secure their own oppression. When plunder becomes a way of life for a group of men living together in society, what do? They create for themselves in the course of time a legal system which authorizes it, and a moral code which glorifies it. And it's probably time we stand up and you know what? We're not going to tolerate that stuff anymore. It's a bunch of BS. Thanks for joining the Disturbing Illusion, and I will see you guys in the next live stream. Take care.